Good sir.
What is up, Blake? Always good to be with you when a commitment comes in, and it's a good day. Good day to be an LSU fan.
So, Carter, let's talk about this because we have lots of things that we need to get with you because a lot has happened since you and I last spoke because you just had to call college basketball games yesterday, which, by the way, how did they go?
I went great. We went 2-0. Got the dubs, man.
Good. Good to
It
hear.
was I'm gonna tell you this, Blake. There's nothing like a basketball gym when you have two rivals going head to head. So it was great, man. It was absolutely great.
We got so much we need to talk with you about LSU related. Let's do this. Let's start with recruiting because of the Harper news. We got Kayshon Boutte. We got Joe Sloan. We got everything that we need. Tennessee. I mean, there's so many things that we need to talk about here tonight. Let's start off with recruiting. Carter the Power joining us. Carter, obviously, and some people are probably going to watch this on the replay when we clip this. Devin Harper from Calvary Baptist, Shreveport, Louisiana, is the second commit this week from inside the state of Louisiana. Antoine committed this weekend. You got Harper committing today. Carter, I said this earlier. You can't keep recruiting in the top 3 and 4 every year and finish there and not start making really big-time title runs. Am I crazy? Like, hey, is BK building something on this? Like, what's going – what? Historically, when I've seen teams recruit like this at this high level means we might go on a little run here.
Yeah, Blake, and that's the truth. I mean, you might be looking at the beginning of the best recruiting class ever at LSU, and they have a legitimate shot, Blake, if they keep this up, to be number 1 next year. And that is so hard to do with Kirby Smart existing, right? So this has a chance to be something truly transcendent. Up there with the Pete Orgeron and Miles recruiting classes. It really is special.
Are you surprised, Carter, because a lot of these you should go to signing day. Like you wouldn't get these big guys until signing day. LSU, quite honestly, has wasted 0 time under Brian Kelly, unlike Orgeron. Like I felt like would let things linger and go on. BK wants the commitment and he wants it now. And dude, they're just locking the state down. Carter, from a recruiting aspect, what is the number one thing the head coach at LSU has to do in recruiting?
Yeah, you got to lock down the state and you got to get those top 5 classes.
I mean, but here's the question. Are we talking about Brian Kelly enough in locking the state down? Like, I'm fired up. He got me fired up.
No, it honestly, it really is astonishing. And one thing I take away from this, Blake, and this is something that you and I have discussed privately, but I'll share it here, is the focus on the 2025 crop, right? They really are pushing their chips in for this class.
All in.
It's crazy. And I understand that there are fans out there that are not happy with the portal class up to this point. And look, there are better portal classes out there. Ole Miss, of course, is one of them. Missouri has a really good portal class as well. But, at this point, Blake, just be excited about 2025. There will be more portal guys coming. But the fact that you have the best recruit in LSU history and he's committed, and now you're getting all these top guys from your own state. It really is special. And obviously the next domino will hopefully be James Simon pretty soon. Got an interesting text from someone that knows him pretty well, and he said he's built like an ox. I love James Simon.
6'2", and you love running backs coming out of high school over 200 pounds.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
He's going to be over it. Yeah, he's going to be about 205 when when it's all said and done.
That's huge for me. And I think of him as a better version of like a Darrell Williams, right? Where Harlem Berry, of course, has more upside because of his top end speed and his ability to make guys miss. That's going to be a perfect complementary back for that 2025 crop. So I'm really loving what LSU's doing. And, for Devin Harper, the most important position out of any to recruit out of high school is offensive line. Every piece of transfer portal data and high school data that's out there is that. And Blake, they brought in 6 in this last class, and now You already got 7. So 7 guys you've recruited out of high school that all have some pedigree. Most of them are 4 stars and better. That is a really, really good thing to keep building in those trenches.
Brad Davis is a guy we don't talk about enough. I want to get to Antoine in a moment. Brad Davis, Carter, I got to be honest with you. I don't, Corey, for what Corey gets for being DBU, even though Ron Cooper started that, Brad Davis might be the next dude. Like, Brad might be the next guy that you're like, hey, man, we don't talk about him. It's like, he's the prototypical offensive line coach. He recruits, nobody talking. He's Sam Pittman. He's Sam Pittman 2.0. Carter, this dude's going off.
Yeah, Blake, this is what I would say about Brad. There's nobody from last year to this year that has increased their stock more than Brad Davis.
Nobody.
Right? It's honestly, and of course, guys like Jaden Daniels, sure. But, going into last year, there was a lot of complaining about Brad Davis with the offensive line recruiting and all of that, right? And he has completely changed the brand of offensive line at LSU, right? There is a national brand with LSU at pretty much every position outside of offensive line. And yes, there have been great offensive lines at LSU. The 07 offensive line is one of the best we've ever seen. There's great offensive linemen that come from LSU. Trey Turner, Lyle Collins, Andrew Whitworth, and so on and so on. It's just harder. Those are
at some point, Carter, you got to start talking about Cushenberry. You got to start talking about Damian Lewis, who came through here. At some point, I'm just going to be honest with you. He didn't play a lot this year. Austin Deculus is going to be, a guy that's on a roster again next year. Yeah. I got to be real with you. It's kind of starting coming to a point where, look, we had a lot of big-time defensive linemen that have come to the school, and we probably can have them and will have them again. But the bottom line for me is really simple. Carter, I think we've changed a little bit from what's going on in this state from a recruiting aspect at LSU.
Yeah,
and he's dominating.
Yeah, and Blake, you do have to go a long ways back before the last first-round offensive lineman at LSU. And that's obviously going to change.
They might have too.
Yeah, that's going to change next season. So it's been since 1998 since LSU's had a first-round offensive lineman drafted. So then you obviously can't say that about any other position. So Brad Davis is going to have obviously potentially multiples next year, at least not until the.
Dude, I'm thinking about this when you said that. LSU has had a first-round, not like kicker punter, but had a first-round pick at every position group, literally outside of offensive line. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not putting down on any of the LSU offensive line. I'm friends with some of the former LSU offensive linemen. It's just the brand there is not quite the same as it is at other positions. And Brad Davis has flipped that narrative. And it's not that he's the first good offensive line coach at LSU. Coach Stud was great at LSU. It's just, it's different. The recruiting is different. And a lot of that is Brian Kelly as well. So it's amazing what they've done at that position, and hopefully that continues.
Jabari Antoine also committed to LSU. Carter, how big is it when these high profile, because look, he's a top 20 recruit. He just doesn't have his 5th star yet. Carter, there's a really good chance he's going to end up being a 5-star. Look, man, it's massive to get him in the boat now. We're not even into summertime, Carter. Like, this is when a lot of this stuff normally goes down. But truth be told, it's already, for now, done with him. How big do you think that commitment was, the kid out of the Westgate?
Yeah, it's very nice. Obviously good for Corey to get the train moving at DB. So I think it's bigger for him, right? Because, he's coming in with a lot of hype, and it's good to already get one of those commitments, especially from Westgate High School, that produces really good football players. So good job. And I also love the name. That is just a name that rolls off the tongue beautifully. So congrats to him.
Jabari Antoine?
Yeah, I love that name.
I mean, he sounds like a future first-round pick from LSU. I mean, I mean, he does. Like that is a hell of a name. You know what? You know what number he has to wear? That no negotiations.
What's that?
1.
Oh, you think he's a single digit? You think he's an Uno?
Yeah, I think he's an Uno.
Oh,
I think the kid's that good.
Honestly.
Honestly.
Oh, so okay, good. I mean, look, there's a lot of great corners.
What do you think about him? Have you seen him
I've
play?
not watched a whole lot. I've not watched a whole lot of him.
Kid can play.
Let's go. I would never lead anyone astray. I've really not had a chance to sit down and watch him. But what I can tell you is if you think he's an Uno, I'm down with it. Let's go.
You know who he kind of reminds me of?
Who's that?
Better rated Mo Claiborne.
Right. And hopefully a better NFL career than Mo Claiborne, which I don't really care about.
It don't matter. Mo Claiborne was another one of those names, like had to be a first-round pick at LSU. Dude, he's 6'1". I mean, he's 6'1" and can run. 6'1", 6'2", and can run. That's got Corey Raymond written all over it.
Let's go. Let's get it going, man.
Anything else that we need to touch here on recruiting too before we move on? Anything that I'm missing?
Yeah, just one more thing on James Simon. Like I spent some a good bit of time earlier today talking with someone that watches a good bit of him. Knows him well, and I just think James Simon is very good. It's just kind of an eye test thing. I don't really have a lot of verifiable like 100-meter times or anything like that, but he plays the game with a lot of guile. He's an interesting runner. He runs violent, but also has a little bit of wiggle. And I just think he's better than what his recruiting ranking is right now. And he's also a guy that's been at these LSU camps and stands out, right? So it's just like a personal feel for me. I really do like him. And if he commits, it would not shock me if he ends up being one of the 2 or 3 best players in the entire class.
I don't doubt that at all. I just think I mean, that top 5 in the state, man, it's really competitive this year. It's highly competitive. Okay. 2 of those, dude, if Harper would not have projected as a guard, he'd get a 5th star. If he was a tackle, he'd be a 5-star. They don't give guards 5 stars. Name the last 5-star interior offensive lineman you've seen.
Oh, they never do. It's always
they never do it. Never do it. Okay. Carter Bryant joined us. Look, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it's been a little newsy, but I think we have to touch on it because of what is happening at Tennessee today. Okay. The reason I say that is not that LSU is in an NIL problem or have an NIL investigation type problem, but they do have a little bit of a scandal on their hands with Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah.
Carter, me and you, I think more than anybody, we took a little pushback. If you remember this time last year when we were talking about Kayshon Boutte, I said I thought it was an addition by subtraction. And me and you got pushback on social media because of it. I mean, Carter, how many times is this guy going to be a part of issues? I mean, like, I like the kid. I think the kid was talented. But sometimes Carter, was he worth even how good he was as a sophomore? Was he worth all the shit that he put us through? And it's still putting us through.
No, it's just the truth, right? And I think 2 things from where all of us stand. Obviously, as a player, we're always going to love Kayshon. He was an elite talent when he was fully healthy. But it's so important how you carry yourself off the field, whether it's recovering from an injury, whether it's doing the right thing, being a mentor to others. This is how I always feel with off the field stuff, right? Because I'm not one of these guys that likes to be on a moral high horse. My issue is if you have multiple distractions. And at this point, we can count at least 3 major instances of multiple distraction, teammates having to answer for it. It's tough. It's really, really tough to overcome that as a team because in the back of your head, Blake, you're just always like as a coach, oh, what's going to happen now? What is he going to be available? And I understand being a college student is tough.
He wasn't available. He got suspended for 2 games. He wasn't always available. So I hate that he got hurt, but now I know for a fact that Oh, well, he had the flu. No, he didn't have no damn flu.
And something else, Blake, I would highly recommend every single person to ask themselves about their own gambling habits, right? I mean, ask yourself when you place a bet if you have a problem. I think it goes a long way.
Look at you being Deacon Carter over here, Pastor Carter over here. What are we doing?
Yeah, here's what I'll say is the castles in Vegas are built on parlays. Okay, they are. They are. And,
they are, dude.
Okay, so true story. True story. I saw someone get mad that the Luka Doncic under didn't hit when he scored 73 points. How can you be mad about that? They had a 5-legger, and I saw them complaining on social media saying, and they were serious. They're like, oh man, if Luka could have just had an off night, he went for 73. He went for 40 over the over. You just suck at betting. It's not. And people are like, oh my god, if only he tore an ACL. What are we doing here? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So
you know what? You know the way I gamble, Carter. If I gamble, can I tell you how I do it? If I just could, it is $20, $30. Can I just say fuck it and not worry about it? Like,
right?
Do I need to live with this money or not? Which I don't gamble as much. But let me ask you this, because the NCAA, dude, like what's going on at Tennessee? I mean, okay, but the question that I have is, obviously, is LSU about to be investigated again? And what could they really do to LSU, who LSU did not condone him doing this? Like, let's just be real.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a slippery slope because every kid has their phones and they can set up for an account. I mean, if you're of age, you can do it. And it's very easy to bet now with everything that's out there. You know, I'll always say this, Blake. Individuals, I do think coaches just get too much blame for individuals being rogue actors. I think LSU will be fine unless there's some tentacles to this. If there were more players out there, I mean, and that's the case for any school, right? And I think this is going to be a wake-up call for all schools to say, hey, let me tell my players to make sure you don't do this very thing. And what makes it very interesting, Blake, is we have seen this in the NFL where we have guys accused for sexual assault. We have guys that are proven domestic abusers, and they don't get as tough of a penalty as someone who bets on sports within the facility, right? That's how serious sports betting is.
Alabama had a freshman DB who was just enrolled, got pulled over, and had 2 pounds of marijuana. Like, I don't look, marijuana, that doesn't really bother me. You know, like weed is weed to me. Like, okay, whatever. But he had 2 pounds. Pounds. Carter, that could last me a lifetime on the weed that I haven't taken in my life.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, okay, like, what can you do? But you know, how involved do they get in reference to Louisiana State Police investigating? They didn't find anything else, which
I just want this to be known, because I know you have players that watch this and all of that. Just don't do it. Just I understand you should be allowed to bet on NBA.
Or here's a crazy thought. You ready?
Yeah, it's here.
Your mom's name is on the account and her social security number was in the account. How about this? Is crazy. You ready?
Okay, let's hear it.
How about you don't put Kayshon Boutte 01 on the motherfucker?
Oh my God.
Huh?
That is I still couldn't believe it. But here's the funny thing, Blake. I was so shocked when I heard that, because how can you be so stupid to do something like that? But then I was like, well, Kayshon's done a lot of baffling things. So I hate it for him. And look, at his peak, I mean, he was producing Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors level numbers over 2 different years, right? At the end of his true freshman season and then at the beginning of his true sophomore season. That is so astonishing. But if you don't take everything seriously, man, it could all slip away.
I know they're not in the same class. Malik Neighbors is everything we thought Kayshon Boutte would be.
Yeah, look, this will be the most biased take. I shared this on my NFL show a little bit earlier.
You think he's the best receiver we've ever had?
Yeah, I think he's the best receiver we've ever had. I also think he will be the best player in this draft. I do think he's better than. I think he's better than Marvin Harrison. I do, and that's not biased to LSU me. Okay, Blake, I shared a take with you earlier. I'm not going to bring it up here about a time where
I remember this.
Okay, so I share this.
I mean, just say that you picked a player that you picked against an LSU player for another guy that you thought was better.
Right. So I don't always just go all out for the LSU test, and that's part of why I shared that before I shared this here tonight. I'll share this on my show here in a bit. Malik Neighbors is the best NFL draft prospect we've had since Jamar Chase, and I think he's in a tier with Jamar Chase and Patrick Peterson as the best draft prospects I've personally ever scouted. I do it every year with the LSU guys. And man, it's just crazy. Like when you look at the film and then you look at these dynasty fantasy people sharing all these crazy stats like EPA per play, yards per route run, broken tackle percentage. I mean, when it comes to making people miss, it is not close between Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. It is not. And that's always a stat that I weigh a little bit more heavily because that is you going up against someone against their own will, right? And you're making those miss. And as a lot of people watching the show that watch Malik Neighbors, these tackles that he would break are truly stupendously crazy. Like I remember playing the Army.
He makes it look like he runs violently when really and truthfully, if you break down what he did, that's not violent. He broke an arm, like he ripped through an arm. You know what Malik is to me? He is the most technical wide receiver that I think that I've ever seen. Like
I'm with you.
Like for example, if Cortez made him go through a drill with, hey, you got a defender on you right hand, what do? Hit elbow. Like hit elbow. Like he is the most technically sound individual that I've ever. I agree with that now. Best. I can't go there yet. Okay. I can't go there yet because the truth be told, I mean, when you got Jets and you got Chase who did what they did and then did it in the NFL, I got to be real with you. I don't know if Justin Jefferson's not the best overall non-quarterback prospect that's ever been drafted at LSU.
True. Now that we know what he's done in the NFL, but I'm talking pre-draft process.
Like, let me ask you. Well, correct. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Like, LSU has never had a first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver. Well, the route that Justin Jefferson is on, Carter, he's on that Randy Moss trajectory.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm
with
you,
I can't go there yet. I love Malik. I just don't know.
Okay.
For me, because I see Jets going for 1,900 yards in a year, I'm like, come on, bro. With Kirk Cousins? With Kirk Cobain's doing this.
There's nothing better than the Kirk with the chain.
Okay. Can we just admit one thing? Kirk Cousins is the whitest dude in history. And the dance move that he thought that was the best when he was covered in chains was this.
You like that? You like that?
I'm a Kirk Cousins apologist, actually, believe it or not. Okay.
I did see Conrad mention Wendell Davis, Conrad Caples. That's a throwback right there. Conrad, shoot me a message on social media. I'm gonna send him a Wendell Davis card. Cool. So there you go.
Before I get you out of here, because you got your show coming up at 8:15, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Before I get you out of here, the staff is officially complete. Nagel and was officially brought in after you, and then Austin Thomas also going to be hired in since we talked to you last. What do you think about the staff forming out? Slade Nagel being in and Austin Thomas's return?
Yeah, I think it's great. Obviously, defensively, we touched on that. Nagel, of course, has a lot of history in Louisiana, Tulane, and then, of course, at LSU. Blake, overall, this hiring cycle for LSU is a B plus. The only downside is the fact that they did lose Mike Denbrock, who is a tremendous play caller. But I think Joe Sloan's going to do fine next season. I know he's going to be very excited for this opportunity. But anytime you lose a Broyles Award finalist, it's tough. But it happened, and LSU rebounded pretty well, all things considered. So the coaching staff will be way better next season compared to what it was this past season, where, quite frankly, it was not the best coach season at LSU. And I think that eats at Brian Kelly, and I think that's going to make him dig even deeper to really push himself to get this team ready on both sides of the football to make a push for the national championship. So congrats to Brian Kelly. Congrats to, of course, Scott Woodward. He played a big role in getting Baker and all these guys here. So really excited about the future, man. It's a good time to be an LSU fan.
Austin Thomas, your thoughts?
Yeah, so, of course, multiple stints. And I know, Blake, this is a big concern that people always have. Well, he's not been at any one place for too long. And I get that. But that is far more the norm than it is the not norm. Okay? Coaches jump from place to place. Sometimes it's because coaches or administrators or analysts, or in this case, Austin Thomas, the GM, it's not his title now, but still, it's because you're good, right? People always want to poach you, right? Brennan Marion, the offensive coordinator at UNLV, has been in 12 stops in the last 13 seasons. It's because he's good. He's good. He gives lectures at coaching conventions and stuff like that. And younger coaches that are talented, they do bounce around earlier in their career. So hopefully Austin Thomas is here to stay. LSU lost some recruiting staffers, player personnel guys in the background, and hopefully Thomas can steady the ship and get everything in order for LSU.
Got to be able to sustain organizational properties at LSU. You got to be organized. LSU's gotten money. I mean, they got to be more organized in how they're delivering some things, specifically for guys in the portal. And that is what the one area that they're just not. It's not that they don't have it. It's not that they're behind. It's just when you ain't organized, you ain't organized. And we all know that guy who works the 9 to 5 when you walk up to his desk and it's all just messy because he's not an organized person. And sometimes things can really affect you with that. Okay. Last one, I promise. Really quickly.
Yeah,
Your show's at 8:15. Is there anything that worries you right now for LSU? Like, meaning football specifically, because look, man, I mean, you still got to play the 24 season. I think we're getting excited about a lot of things recruiting. I just want to temper some expectations, though. Carter, I mean, you got to get some better interior defensive linemen, or you're going to be 9-3 again.
Yeah, obviously the off the field stuff is always something that concerns me, but on the field is where I'll focus. And that it's the defensive line, right? I mean, it's just not where it needs to be right now. And I think we've already seen Brad Davis and Kevin Peoples on the recruiting trail trying to build this line, but obviously in the near immediate future, it's going to be really tough for LSU to build this defensive line to a level that they're going to feel unbelievably comfortable with. But I think they'll do a really good job because those two guys coached at an extremely high level last season. And as you've mentioned, the Texas defensive tackles were not the most highly recruited guys. So those guys come in with a lot of pressure. And, man, Dominic McKinley's coming in with a lot of pressure as well. Because if he can deliver
unfairness too.
Right. And if he struggles next season, it's important for people to be patient because it's not his fault that the position is what it is right now. So yeah, I mean, that's my biggest concern for right now. But hopefully that'll be answered with guys like Jaleel Muhammad and others in the portal pretty soon.
So what makes you the best? Carter the Power Bryant. Thank you so much, buddy. Your show's at 8:15. Tell them where they can find it.
Yeah, just Power Hour LSU. And I actually, if I can, Blake, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. One of your friends, I've had a good conversation with him. His name is Trey Clark. Okay, he's a viewer of your channel.
Okay.
He reached out to me today, and he is a Liverpool fan. And did you want to be a Liverpool fan with us? Come on over.
Carter, can I tell you something?
Let's hear it.
I don't even know what channel Liverpool comes on. I don't know. If somebody said, "Hey, man, can you pull up the Liverpool game?" I swear to God, I have no idea where to go. None.
It's shameful. We need to get you more cultured. We need to.
No way. No, listen. I am a very simple man. Can I tell you the 4 things in life that if I had the rest of my life, I won't need anything else? You
Let's
ready?
hear it. Yeah,
the show, my kids, chitty chitty bang bang, okay, and whiskey. All right. Soccer is like 12,000 things down that list.
I mean, you love football, man. Why not just
hell no?
Just helicopter in and be a fan. You don't even have to know the sport. It's fun. Shout out my guy Jared. Jared is my top dog as well. But you're a Liverpool fan. Congrats, man. I'm gonna send you a jersey.
Carter, I don't even know their colors. The only reason I know is because you wear the hat.
Okay, that's a start. That's a start. What I will tell you this: the Chills.
Who plays with them, like Messi or somebody?
No, not.
Okay,
not
I got you on that one. I know Messi's in Miami.
Hey, look, our biggest moment as a club actually was against Lionel Messi. We were down 3-0, came back to win 4-3 in the championship.
You know what my soccer comes from? The summer I spent in Thailand. Okay.
Okay, I didn't know you did this.
Yeah, Ted Lasso. It's about the most.
You're a Lasso guy?
No, I've never watched it, but I know who Ted Lasso is.
Let's go.
That's about it. See you, dude.